good for sound. Do you want to give me a bit of a wave? I think there's ABC going live, aren't you? Yeah. Right. You all good to go? Okay, good. Hang on. Hang on. Here's Scott. You got on the right there? Yeah. All right, look, great to be here at the Rail Management Control Centre, Queensland Rail. Let me just say a few things before we get to the announcement on ETCS. Firstly, tomorrow is the last day for your free flu jab in Queensland, so I encourage people to get in there and book today. It's your last opportunity to get it free. It has been higher than usual flu season, and we've had 2 flu deaths overnight, so do encourage people to make their health their first priority. We're here at the Rail Management Control Centre here today to announce that the European Train Control System, which is going to be integrated into the Queensland Rail system as part of Cross River Rail and then more broadly across the whole network, the first testing has been very successful in terms of level 2 on the Sandgate line. This is essential technology for the Cross River Rail tunnels, but it is essential technology to run a much more modern and more efficient and reliable and safer rail system right across South East Queensland. This technology allows continuous flow of information of the train, its direction, its speed, all those sorts of things to the control centre, so we can run more trains more often, more tightly together, and it's much safer than the current signalling system. So this is a huge investment in terms of making our public transport system safer and better and much more attractive to people, not just because of the new underground rail system that we're putting in as part of Cross River Rail, not just because of our expansion of Logan to Currabee track duplication and the Sunshine Rail upgrades, but to make the system better and safer, and we want people to be using a better public transport system. So I've got Graham Newton here from Cross River Rail Delivery Authority and Scott Riddell from Queensland Rail, who'll talk a little bit more about this ETCS technology, which is a $717 million investment in a much more modern and efficient and a reliable train system. Can I also just say overnight that there's been 22 COVID deaths in Queensland, so we're seeing 46,000 active cases across the state at the moment. So it's an important time with the third wave happening with winter. I just encourage people on public transport. I know everybody's a little over it, but if you can wear your masks, remember there's people out there, particularly people with vulnerable health conditions, who don't need to get COVID at all. The threat for them is much more significant. So I just say to people, it's up to you, but I do encourage you to think of other people in the community who may not be as fortunate as yourself, who really don't need to get COVID at all. And if you can wear masks in those crowded situations, I remember social distancing, hand hygiene are still important to minimise risk of transmission. But the third wave is a worry, and we do encourage people, particularly when they're on the public transport system, when they're close to other people, if you can mask up, think of others, that will help minimise the spread of COVID. I'll ask Graham Newton to say a few words from the Delivery Authority.
Thanks, Minister. Graham Newton's my name. I'm the CEO of the Cross River Rail Delivery Authority. Look, this is a really exciting time for the project. Last year we saw a lot of construction work happening and we saw some quite spectacular breakthroughs with the tunnel boring machines. But what we've had here with the ETCS is equally as exciting for the project. It's the first time on the rail network in Queensland where we've seen such technology applied, and it really paves the way for the Cross River Rail project and the wider SEQ network. So really, early in the night or early last week, we saw these trains fitted with the ETCS technology, and they were doing test track running out at Shorncliffe. So while Brisbane was sleeping, we saw the future arriving out at Shorncliffe, and that'll set us up for how the trains will operate through the tunnel. The way they're set up is there's a range of technology that's beside the track and within the track, and then also on the trains, and it allows the train to know its location precisely, and that allows the trains to operate closer and more safely as they move through, which will be essential for the future of the railway network, but also essential for the going through the tunnel, because when you're in the tunnel you can't have the lights that you see on the side of the tracks. What you need is this digital technology which allows the trains to know their exact location. Thank you.
Thanks, Roger. Scott.
Scott Riddell, so I'm head of SEQ. ETCS is the next step in the modernisation of the railway. It'll increase safety, it'll increase capacity, and what you're seeing here at the control centre is actually the operational heart of all this new technology coming together. ETCS is part of the complete solution. We're bringing together signalling, the new trains, tunnels, new infrastructure to deliver new timetables into the future. And this is where all the control happens. So we're really excited about the new technology. It will lead to improved network performance, improved safety and increased timetables.
Thanks so much, Scott. Any questions?
Yeah, just on COVID, 22 deaths, that's just too shy. How worried are we going into, I guess, the end season with these potential super spreaders?
Look, I think it's something that we need to be aware of and people need to be conscious of, and I think we have to just remind ourselves that we all still play a positive role in terms of minimising the spread. It's been a marathon, let's be really clear. It's been a real marathon over 2.5 years. A lot of people are wanting things to be normal, but the fact is they're not normal. The reality is we've got 46,000 hospitalisations, 46,000 cases and nearly 1,000 hospitalisations in Queensland at the moment, and it's winter, so people are indoors, they're closer together, it's just going to be a higher risk. So I just say to people, let's just keep our eye on the ball for a little longer. Social distancing, hand hygiene, masks, they all still work, and we've got to still be thinking about the vulnerable members of our community who don't need to get COVID at all.
Is there a risk the airport could be postponed or cancelled?
Oh, look, there's been no health advice in that regard at this point. So, we've always listened to and acted on the health advice in terms of COVID. So we'll see how things progress over the next couple of weeks. But, whatever the Chief Health Officer recommends, we've always acted upon.
Is masks being discussed, making them, mandatory for events like the ECA? Is that something that's being thought about at the moment?
Look, yeah, I'm not the Health Minister, so obviously they're not the kind of briefings I would get directly. But I know the Chief Health Officer will be all over the current numbers and we'll be looking at things closely. And I'm sure if there's any decisions made, if there's those considerations, they'll be shared with the public straight away, just as they have been over the last 2.5 years.
So it is something that will probably be assessed at least at that level with ministerial and
Yeah, look, the Chief Health Officer, I know the Health Minister will be looking at things on a regular daily basis. This is a third wave, there's no doubt about that. And the government has led the way over 2.5 years. We've been one of the best performing jurisdictions in the world in terms of minimising transmission and minimising people dying from COVID. That still hasn't stopped. Of course, there have been a lot of people who have still died from COVID. It is a very dire virus, and it's one that we still need to take seriously if we want to ensure minimise its impact on people.
National Cabinet's being brought forward from October to Monday to now. It's being held right now.
Yeah.
Does that show the serious nature of what's actually happened? And are you glad that the Prime Minister came to the table to hold a National Cabinet earlier?
Yeah, look, it certainly does show that it's a serious situation. It's a third wave, and I commend the Prime Minister for working with the states cooperatively and collegiately on this. That's a big improvement to what we saw over the last couple of years, where we often saw the previous Prime Minister trying to intimidate premiers and states and use too much politics and not enough health advice. The new Prime Minister showed he's willing to work with premiers, being collegiate about it. I think that's the right way to go.
Well, he did have to be dragged, though, on the payments for the pandemic leave, though. At first, he didn't want to cover that.
Well, what we've seen is that it's the third wave's been now. It's clear it's a third wave, and the fact that they've called the National Cabinet meeting today, I think, shows they're responding to the situation proactively, and I think that's a really positive thing.
Josh has mentioned that pandemic leave payment is obviously something that across the board is pretty well decided. What else is Queensland pushing for the National Cabinet?
Look, the Premier will be strongly advocating Queensland's position there. I think she has had a very positive relationship with the new Prime Minister. I'll leave that for her to make any announcements or any comments on. That's her domain. But I think her record of backing in Queenslanders through 65 natural disasters over the last 7.5 years, people know she always puts people's safety first, always, and she'll continue to do that.
The Premier's not holding a press conference today, though. She's declined. Do you know what she'll be pushing for?
Look, that's a matter for the Premier. It's been called at relatively short notice, so look, I'm not privy to the briefings for the National Cabinet. I'm Minister for Transport and Main Roads, I'm not the Premier, so I'll leave that to her. I'm sure she will be communicating something out of National Cabinet. I've got no doubt about that whatsoever. Yeah, no, you go.
Is the fact that this meeting was brought forward, I guess, and moved to keep up with, I guess, the calls somewhat of a relief given the situation that's happening with COVID at the moment?
Yeah, look, this is a situation that's not just in Queensland but nationwide, and the Prime Minister's called the National Cabinet to work with all of the states and territories to get reports about what's happening in every jurisdiction. I think that's leadership, and I have confidence that whatever comes out of today will be positive in terms of keeping people safe.
There's been some text messages that have been released from the floods earlier this year with the confusing messaging around kicking children out of school. Have you seen them?
Oh, look, I read the reports this morning. Look, this was a situation where we just had an unprecedented rain bomb from Bundaberg to the border, and people were very conscious of the safety of our community. Look, there was an apology made at the time because there was a mixed message, and that's appropriate. We've got a Premier who is willing to apologise if there's mistakes made. I think that's what leadership's about. Contrast that to David Christofouli, the LNP leader, who lied about the laptop for 5 months, day in and day out, and when he was caught cold by the independent watchdog's report that he was lying, would not admit it, would not apologise, wouldn't even acknowledge it. He's got the heart the size of a pea, and that's not leadership. Our Premier, she's willing to call a spade when it's necessary, and that's what a real leader does.
Between staffers there was one staffer in particular getting some quite heavy comments towards her. Does this talk to the culture within the public service that the recent report shows that there was a bad culture within the public service?
Oh, not at all. Look, when you've got dynamic situations happening, there's a flurry of information flowing left, right and centre, there's a lot of people involved. This is a normal part of sorting through an issue. So I don't think there's any validity in that assertion whatsoever.
As a minister, in part of those text messages, there was a lot of people saying that the other ministers were also causing confusion because they were unsure of the messaging. When you were given those messages to relay for your own social media and all that, were you confused by what Cabinet meant by picking children up from school and where that applied to what areas? Was it confusing for yourself?
Oh, look, the situation was that you had multiple agencies involved in responding to a situation where people's safety was at risk, and we've always made safety the government's number one priority, whether it's been cyclones, whether it's been floods, whether it's been the pandemic. When you've got a live situation, we just had people flooded right across a vast part of Queensland. Safety was on everyone's minds. And what we saw there from this RCI is a lot of information flowing very quickly between a lot of different agencies. That's a normal part of government, and I don't think there's any surprises there. Safety is always the first priority of this government.
Minister, this week we're obviously seeing Waterfront Place they're out for a redevelopment. Are we, I guess, as the government, putting forward new strategies for flood mitigation, given what we've seen in the last few months with that redevelopment?
Not specifically that I'm aware of. We'll see a report out from the Inspector General of Emergency Management responding to the rain bomb that hit Bundaberg to the border in the future. So there's still a bit of work to be done in responding to that specific event. But obviously, there will be development in the CBD close to the river. That's always an aspect of living in a subtropical environment, and I'm sure some of the designers will have taken that into account.
You've probably also seen the reports about the Premier's wedding dress. Can you tell us anything? Do you know anything? You've been invited to a wedding?
But I don't think that's a serious question, to be quite frank. That's a personal matter for the Premier, and really, I don't think that's a serious question for a press conference.
Have you been invited?
Seriously, come on. Seriously, look, they look very happy. I think that's fantastic. I think everyone wishes them well. The Premier's got a right to have a relationship and to be happy in a relationship. Good on her. Good stuff. All right, all good? All right,
you.
thanks everyone. Cheers. All right. We've got a little bit of a graphic over here.